Audio. All right, here we go. Sorry for the longer wait time, but I figured that would give more time for people to show up anyways. Let's sync these up. Live chat, live chat. Dismiss that. That's muted. Okay. Everything's mostly good. So I apologize to anybody who's already here or watching the recording afterwards who was at the stream on Friday. I apologize for that one having to be cut short, but that could not be avoided. So here we are. The two streams this week will be tonight and Friday night because I'm going to be gone physically on Wednesday and Thursday. So I have everything set up here. And while we wait for everyone to start showing up, I can probably go into more minor-ish offhand stuff, maybe. Okay. Yeah, there's no one here yet, supposedly at least. So, congratulations, you get another vague, broad history lesson. So, some, well, first, actually, we have to make sure Epic Pen works. There we go, someone's here. Okay, now it's working. So, quick random history lesson while we wait for people to pour in. Angola, some history about Angola. So, you may have thought, based on not direct teaching, but kind of lack of teaching, that the history of Africa south of the Sahara is cryable nothingness and nothing happened until Europeans showed up and started grabbing slaves. That is not true. There were a lot of civilizations that were doing stuff with each other, with the outside worlds, all over the place. They just didn't get as much attention because they weren't building pyramids and stuff. Or giant lions with human heads on them that conspiracy theorists insist were built by aliens. So for Angola, during the first and during the first millennium and a decent chunk of the second, a lot of Angola was taken up by a kingdom from which the country Congo, or both Congos, get their name, and from which the river gets its name. But the actual ancient kingdom that it was named after was primarily in Angola. It's kind of like here, bits of it were in the Congo, but the bigger chunk of it was in Angola, and that lasted for a while. That came to fruition after the region of Angola before that had been several smaller fiefdom-like areas, and eventually they got into a war with a somewhat more coalesced civilization uh, over to the east, and they were forced to come together to fend off that attack over the course of decades or centuries. Not a lot was written, so we're not sure how long that lasted, but it was a few generations, and so the different like subregions of Angola eventually coalesced together, along with those portions of what is now the country of the Congo, into initially just kind of a confederation alliance against a potential reattack from that civilization to the east. But over time, as a couple of centuries went on, it coalesced into what became the actual Kingdom of Congo. And that lasted for a while. Initially, they started growing bananas, and those would get traded via different networks up the coast and then up through the Sahara via the Berber trade networks. Some of them would go cross-continental and would make their way up to Somali traders through the different Somali kingdoms and would get ferried up around the Horn and over to India and upwards to Arabia and Europe. And those, some of those items that were carried were actually dried up, preserved, or crushed portions of banana that were among the many things that were just referred to in the very broad term as spices. As when you hear the ancients, the term in regards to like older history of spices or the spice trade, it's not referring to generic spicy food inserts that you can like order on your pizza or on your Subway sandwich. It was a really broad term that basically covered any kind of, in Europe at least, it was used to refer to any kind of far away, any kind of food flavoring item that came from far away. And so, for a while, for centuries before the actual Portuguese and then Spanish and then etc. Age of exploration expeditions started going out in the late 1400s and then 1500s, people in Europe, specifically in this instance, and in other places in Arabia, etc., had no idea that bananas existed or what a banana was. But uh, quite a number of times throughout history, there were plenty of times where they would have been eating something flavored with like some form of dried up, crushed, preserve bananas or banana, I don't know, you call it crumbs or dust, that would have been among many things that were referred to as spices. And then in the 1400s, before the transatlantic stuff started, in the 1400s, Portugal started meandering around. They were the big one before Spain started doing stuff. They came into contact with Congo and the Kingdom of Congo, which was where modern day Angola is. And they started trading directly with them. And the one thing that always got traded that the Europeans always brought that wherever they went to, the people there did not previously have and thus were interested in was, of course, guns. So still having, generational memory of that old war that caused them to sort of come together in the first place. When the Kingdom of Congo found out what guns were, they were like, oh, yeah, sure, man, that's awesome. And so they started trading guns for those banana spices, and they tried actually getting bananas themselves back up north, but didn't really work out for a while. And then Portugal continued, blah, 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 and going around the Horn, going out eastward, got to Indonesia and etc. And that, the fact that they were getting there, that's what actually caused Spain to fund Columbus to see if they could actually get there via the west, etc., etc. And so that is some of the happenings of the history of Angola, the lesser known parts of it, the pre colonization parts of it. But, anyways, that should be long enough for a lot of people to be here by now, out of the usuals at least. Okay, we got you two, and we got 11 other, well, you're part of the 11, so 9 silent people plus you two. Great, 9/11, we did it, guys. We did 9/11. All right, so let's see, where do we want to start with this whole thing? Do we want to go? We did counterclockwise last time, so let's go clockwise this time. We'll go this way around in a circle. All right, so Iran itself Uh, Bombing campaign continues across the country. So there were the initial decapitation strikes you guys all know about. The Air Force was obliterated. Every time they come out to do a missile and drone launch waves, the launchers and crews and stuff that can be gotten to in time get bombed, but not all of them can be gotten to in time, as one would hopefully think is obvious. And then the campaign spread to the production facilities and factories for Iran's domestic missile production and drone production. Those were kind of leveled out via carpet bombing, via B-52s and etc. And B-1s. So they're not making any more, but they still have a lot of stuff. Not necessarily a lot more missiles. They do have a lot more drones, though. The vague estimate of the number of Shahed drones they had stored up for themselves before all this started is anywhere from 30 to 70,000. And the total number that they have successfully launched since the war started is, as of a few hours ago, when the daily count came up, 3,325 that have been successfully launched. Another few hundred have been destroyed on the ground while in process of getting ready to be launched via airstrikes on the launching trucks or the towed catapult systems. So we'll say, I'll round it down and say vaguely 3,500 are gone, and an unknown number have been either destroyed and or damaged or rendered inaccessible by strikes on the entrances and portions of the tunnel beyond just the entrance via deeper penetrating bombs on the various under mountain storage tunnels they have. So total Shaheeds that are out of the equation is some vague number between 3,500 and 4,000 out of, at a minimum, 30,000 and a maximum of 70,000. So basically, I've somewhere between as high as 10%, or as that's high, or as low as 5% of the Shahed drones are gone through. So there's quite a lot of those left. Like I said at the beginning, along with the missile launching capabilities as well, the actual limiting factor is going to be the personnel and the launching equipment. As for missiles, you have to have this whole specialized vehicle, the system, the antennas, and the telemetry computer and everything that hauls the, multi-dozen ton missile out and then launches it. Cause some fire there. So those are the primary limiting factor for the missiles, along with the actual crews that are trained on how to technically use those. The Shahed drones as well, because they're not spears that get thrown from someone's shoulder. They do require a launching apparatus. They're smaller than ballistic missiles, so more of them get carried by one launcher vehicle, and it has like a catapulting system. It's usually 5 shelves, and each shelf, see the fire exhaust coming out here. Each shelf will fire out one Shahed drone, and those also require like 2 or 3 guys to operate that. So the numbers of actual uh, drones in particular is not going to be the thing that like runs out. The limiting factor is the actual equipment. The missiles, if enough of their launch vehicles survive, or if they have more launch vehicles than expected, they might actually be able to get through their entire missile stockpile. The number of successfully launched ballistic missiles up to this point, that's a 0, not a 9. I just drew it horribly. Is 1,210 as of a few hours ago. And the number that have been destroyed on the ground is about 100 TL vehicles that had missiles on them. About like 300 have been hit, but 200 out of, sorry, let me make that a better two. 200 out of the 300 launcher vehicles that have been hit were ones that had already just launched their missiles, so they were empty when they were struck. So the vehicle was taken out, but the missile had already been fired. So that's total of roughly 300 of their ballistic missiles out of a uncertain, vague number of between 2 and 3,000 that they had on hand before the war began. Let's see. And the decapitation strikes went with the supreme leader, blah, blah, blah. He died on day 1 or 2. His son was one of his, I don't know, many sons was appointed the new leader. And he, I'll put the X next to him, Sonic X, that was a good show. He was hit in an airstrike, but he survived. He is still alive. He just, they have not shown, well, all we were told is that he suffered a extremely severe leg injury to one of his legs. So either he has a really mangled leg or it might have had to be amputated, but he is supposedly, as of their most recent statements from Iran themselves, he is supposedly still alive. Uh, Brigadier General Brigadier General Aging Beard Man is not, though. As the strikes went down, the command chain pyramid. For one more quick lesson, since I've had to do this before, for everyone who's unaware of military ranking system, general is not just a singular rank. There's different levels of general. There's general of or command generals, which is usually in any particular country, each branch of the military will have one overall commanding general, like the general of the Army, general of the Air Force, except for the Navy. The Navy obviously has admiral of the Navy because the Navy gets to be special, but everybody else has a general. And then after that, the countries usually divide themselves into districts, different military districts, and each, or if you're doing U.S. stuff and you have like reach all over the world, then you also have different like foreign commands as well, like CENTCOM, SOUTHCOM, INDOPACOM, etc. Each district and/or overseas command then has a general of a lower level that oversees that. That's the second level there. The third level then is usually within each district or overseas command. There will be the different like fields of operation, different types of stuff, not individual divisions yet, but different like groups of things that get done. Those will have level 3 generals or 3G. And I forgot. I don't know whether it's level 2 or level 3 that's lieutenant general, or and which one is major general. Those are the two rankings for levels 2 and 3 in terms of types of generals. Again, this applies to almost every military on Earth. Brigadier general is the fourth or lowest level of general, and that's when you get down to like division commanders. Depending on the country's particular setup, every somewhere between 5 to 12,000 military personnel will have a level 4 or brigadier general that's in command of those 5 to 12,000 personnel. Iran, uh, after things recoalesced after the initial strikes, the guy giving out orders and occasionally public statements and speeches as well was Brigadier General aging beard man. I'm going to call him that because his beard was not that epic, but it was gray and aging. He was killed. They proclaimed his martyrdom, and he went to Muslim heaven or whatever. And so we don't know who's in charge of the IRGC right now, but eventually they'll make like a new public announcement and a new swearing of fealty and loyalty and stuff. Oh yeah, total casualties. Where are the Iranian ones? There we go. Total casualties of the new estimate is combining everyone's different estimates together. We have roughly 3K military casualties and 2,000 civilian casualties. Uh, the Iranians claim lower military casualties and higher civilian casualties. U.S. and Israel claim way higher military casualties and way lower civilian casualties. But this is the most likely real gauge. And then elsewhere around the Gulf, I won't talk about some of the very specific other stuff. We'll just do clockwise around for quick casualty stuff. UAE still stands at, is it still four? Oh no, it's 2 and 5. UAE is 2 military casualties, 5 civilian casualties. They didn't do too much mourning stuff about the civilian ones because they were some of the uh, totally not slave labor that they import from Pakistan and India. When some of the drone strikes hit the luxury hotels, they killed some of the hotel maids. And they lost 2 crew on a helicopter that was shooting down drones. It was a UH-60, a Black Hawk. It was shooting them down with the M134 chain gun out the side door. So that was one more foreign worker that got killed when another of the luxury hotels got struck. And supposedly, uh, there were some severe injuries when Dubai Airport got struck yesterday, but I haven't been able to get specifics out about that. Let's see. Bahrain is still at the original three civilians that were killed a number of days ago. Oman is at 1, and that was a Omani uh, port facility worker at their port here that was struck. That is not, it wasn't an oil export terminal. It was the fuel storage terminal for marine fuel for large not naval, sorry, cargo vessels, although naval vessels could dock there, obviously, but for cargo vessels, as that was one of their main container vessel and bulk carrier ports. It was the marine fuel depot next to that that refuels the ships when they're at port that got struck. So that port is not necessarily unusable, but it can't refuel any ships that come there. So anything that comes to that port in particular has to already have enough fuel on it to get out and go wherever it's going to go, or just hop over to a different port, like over in India, to refuel on marine fuel. Saudi Arabia is still at 2 civilian casualties. Those, I believe, were 2 oil workers at the secondary facility, not Ras Tanura, but the other one that's to the south of it a little bit, like Al Rufaya or something like that. Kuwait, what is going on out there? Sounded like someone's piston in their car backfired just now. Kuwait is still at 4 versus 4. They've had 4 military casualties and 4 civilian casualties. Their 4 military dudes were apparently in the same building, possibly the same room full of giant screens from a Jason Bourne movie or whatever. but at least in the same building when that ballistic missile strike happened that killed the 6 U.S. personnel that were in there. Iraq is at 32 Iraqi military personnel killed, and hold up, where'd I put the numbers? And still, for the time being, only 2 Iraqi civilians killed. Israel is still at 17 civilians killed, although several hundred have been hospitalized by the more recent ballistic missile barrages, as they have been. Iran has been launching what was it? Cluster munitions, or it's quote Gundam Seed Destiny Type 8 fragmentation shells, which spread out a lot more and cause a lot more harm, but they have not actually killed anybody yet. They've injured a lot of people and dislimbed a lot of people, but it was the actual singular warhead big boom impacts that did most of the actual death. And then for the IDF fighting, the IDF fighting in southern Lebanon, which we'll touch on in a second, they are at a couple dozen losses. They're still publicly claiming only 2, and they're still just leveling Beirut, now at 850 random Lebanese civilians dead, plus several dozen dead in the south. Just don't have specific data because that's a combat zone right now and no one's actually reporting their deaths. And 2,000 Lebanese hospitalized. US is at 17 military casualties, is insisting 13, but it's actually 17. I've talked about this a few streams before. 4 of those now, they're trying to write off as they weren't technically directly caused by a combat injury. It was just an adjacent thing that happened because a missile struck a location near them, but they would not be dead if that missile did not strike that location near them. So on the Maxogear scale, that does count as a combat casualty. And 200 plus injured in hospital at either Ramstein in Germany or over at Bethesda at Quantico, 10 of which are extremely severe and probably are likely to be dead. So if they pass, that would end up bringing total U.S. military deaths to 27. And was there anybody else? I didn't write down Cutter's numbers, so oh well. Okay, let me check here. What about the? I'll get to the Lebanon invasion. Just give me a second. There are no reliable sources for any numbers. I mean, like if in terms of in terms of proof of say military equipment destroyed, everybody is always filming everything now, and so at least X number of military equipment being destroyed, you can find the proof of that because you can find enough like different videos verifying that this was destroyed, this was shot down in this location, etc., etc. There might be more than that, obviously, but that you can usually verify. In terms of like literally counting bodies, no one's running around and doing that. It's like specifically to compile a trustable list for you, because to hopefully, if you're human, not your surprise, their immediate concern is helping and trying to treat, like in hospital and evacuate the people who did not immediately die. And like they do, like the Lebanese hospital medical department authority, whatever it is, for example, like they do record and publicly report the number of dead people that they find in the rubble. But beyond that, they're not gonna like literally take frigging pictures of people's dead, mangled bodies for you and post like a endless framed like cadaver list for you to go look at, though. But in dealing with like bigger numbers, that there's a reason I always like when I was saying I always say something like, roughly around the vague general area of say 3,000 in one instance. I'm not literally saying like 2,989. Let's see. Let me get to some of this. What do we have? A smaller Iraqi refinery in Kirkuk, I believe it was struck by Iranian drones. So that's offline for a bit. Thankfully, it's a smaller one, so their domestic fuel supply shouldn't be too hampered. And the Islamic resistance or revolution, whatever it calls itself, has been uh, doing sporadic Hamas type rocket launches at various buildings. And Iran does not have as tight of a leash on them as it might otherwise in other conditions have, or they're just not making a strategically wise decision because, as Trump was asking various other countries, mainly the European nations and Australia and Japan, to start sending military forces to help out with stuff, they were all refusing to do so. And many of them have been actually speaking to Iran on their own and trying to negotiate on the side for like their own ships and stuff, or anyone heading to or from them to be able to come and go. So they're actually more willing to speak with Iran at the moment and are refusing every like ask from Trump. However, the not Iran itself, but the Islamic Revolution or resistance or whatever started rocket bombing those other embassies in Baghdad, the embassies of the countries that have been trying to speak with Iran, like on the side, outside of like U.S. involvement. So not the best move. If Iran does still have an actual leash on their neck, it would be very wise to poke that out right now. What else did we have happen? Stuff is starting to happen inside the Gulf countries on the ground. It was just Iraq at first. Now something almost happened in Kuwait. The Kuwaiti military arrested and stopped a 13-member like inside sleeper cell. They had quite a load of bombs and stuff, plastic explosives, etc. Whatever the knockoff uh, Timu Timu factory. What's the other Chinese site? Alibaba cheap cheap online order version of C4 is. They they're not talking under interrogation at the moment. At least none of them have so far as of the last that I was looking. So not certain what they were going to target and try to blow up, but they were going to do something inside Kuwait itself. What else here? Oh yeah, speaking of that, actually, so there have been four repercussions within the U.S. now. There was the shootings at a mosque in Michigan and a university in Wisconsin. I think it might have been the other way around. There was the bomb threat in Kansas City airport, and now someone tried a really dumb plan down in Florida. They drove up to the gate, the security gate of a military base in Florida, with like bombs in their vehicle, and I guess tried to ram through the gate. And I don't know, we're gonna like suicide bomb ram something. It didn't work because there's these things that come up at the gate that are kind of like non-hollow, really solid metal, and that are anchored deep into the ground. So if you ram into those, I'm drawing something that looks like a car from the 80s or the 70s. If you drive into these, because I've seen this, not the crash itself, just the aftermath, because people have done this at the base near where my parents live, not and the base is back up home actually at Fort Wainwright and Eielson, back up home in Alaska. They weren't; those people weren't trying to do stuff because this was before all this. They were people trying to run the gate for unknown reasons. They end up not having anything on them. But let's draw some crumple lines here. If you ram into these when they flip the switch and these get sprung up, your car will go from this to all crunched up like this. So the wasn't a great plan, was never going to really work out, but it was the fourth incident of someone either trying something, or in the case of the Kansas City thing, threatening to try something. And let's see, a few tankers have been allowed to exit the Persian Gulf. Supposedly, according to India and Iran, uh, Iran has agreed to, for the moment, explicitly let oil tankers, regardless of which country they're taking oil from, they're willing to let, I'll draw a second arrow here, they're willing to let oil tankers uh, to and from India in and out of the Persian Gulf. So India has their orders from the Persian Gulf are usually from the UAE, and occasionally a boost up extra one every week or two from Saudi Arabia. So they've still been getting 1.5 million barrels per day from Fujairah on the outside the Persian Gulf. But these four tankers were not, they weren't like Iranian oil tankers. They were carrying oil from the UAE. So the UAE might be able to maintain regular exports levels now. We're close to it. Just specifically only to India is the one country Iran has an agreement with now. So we'll see if that agreement holds up. If they do continue to let India bound to and from tankers specifically come in and out of the strait, which if they do, that is Good news for me, as have like half of all pharmaceutical medication in the world at this point. Never a good idea to hyperconcentrate stuff, but I don't have any control over that. Is now made in India, and specifically in one region of India, which is even worse to do. But now, if this is going to be allowed, plus they were already getting stuff from Fujairah still as well, now there will hopefully be no issues, be it God's will, and I will continue being able to get my permanent anti-nausea medications and will not get suddenly and unwarrantedly cut off from that because the couple months I went through in 2013 before I was able to start that was quite literally unbearable, both physically and psychologically. So I would really like to not return to that state of being. Now, in terms of the effect that's had on oil prices, for the futures price, aka the gambling price, the speculative price, it's dropped it back down to around $95 per barrel. However, there is a huge separation now between the gambling speculative price and the actual physical price being being paid for oil by people around the world purchasing oil or countries slash corporations purchasing oil in the moment. Despite the fact that, technically oil being ordered or delivered right now was agreed to be paid for 2 months ago at, those good old $60 per barrel prices. The fact that there's a deficit and highest bidder wins, since not all of the orderers can receive their oil in the current circumstance. Those in whose oil it is are demanding that everyone compete each other out until it's settled. And the current settling, the actual physical spot price or order price, the price that's actually being paid is $153 per barrel. So that is going to translate up decently. That is a definitive guarantee for regular states in the US, not California. You're not special. Everyone from California always tries to come in with their special boy quotes about how gas there is already $5.50. I'm talking about regular, ordinary Americans, not Californians. So this effectively has cemented your $4 gasoline. It's coming. I'm sorry. For the area where my parents live and where I thus am stuck living in exile, blah blah blah. Anyone who's new, I used to live up in Fairbanks, Alaska. It was awesome. I want to go home. But 2020 happened, and I never got my job back after that. So I would have ran out of money and couldn't get a new job in time. So, had no choice, had to move back down to where my parents live in South Carolina. Yeah, such an awesome place. That's heavily, depressingly sarcastic if you're unable to tell. The area around here is, or before this happened, a little over 2 weeks ago, was about 250 for a gallon of gasoline. As of Saturday, the last time that I saw any of the price signs when I was out far enough, it was up to 350. So up by a whole dollar or 40% in 2 weeks. I will be going to the store tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll see what they've potentially gone higher up to. But yeah, the actual physical pay for at delivery price is now $153 a barrel. So at minimum, your $4 gasoline is guaranteed for everybody outside of California. But in reality, if this does not actually resolve, if Iran does not like come to a mass agreement with everybody else other than the U.S. To allow like all other tankers out, then uh, and the supply disruption continues, then yeah, you're going to see like $6 to $8 gasoline, including the a wide range in there, so that California feels included this time. But so far, uh, the only one they've come to apparently an agreement with is India. But we will see if that does continue. Let me check chat. What stocking pantries? The U.S. is not going to face a food shortage, dear. I mean, the prices of the food are going to go up to a certain degree, but we're not the ones that are going to be facing a food shortage. We're fine in that regard from all angles. The ones who are going to face shortages of stuff and are going to suffer immensely are, of course, unfortunately, as always, uh, those who can't pay the higher prices, and in some cases, throw Bangladesh and Myanmar and Cambodia and Laos in there too, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Their war is continuing. I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see, what else was there? Here, the invasion of Lebanon. So it's going as follows. This is the decreed line here. Everyone is supposed to get up north of this line, and the IDF is now pushing into southern Lebanon. Fighting is going on as we speak. And so this whole area is the area they're going to push into while simultaneously continuing to level Beirut, of course. So the idea behind this, I spoke of last time. The longer term strategy here from the IDF's perspective, I think, is probably to just keep repeating the process, uh, and especially not just the invasion part, because not that many people live in the south end, but especially the carpet bombing of Beirut part, is to continually keep a malaise over the Lebanese people, to continue impressing upon them the feeling that Lebanon is unlivable, so that A, their birth rate continues falling, as Lebanon's birth rate is only like 1.6, and the Lebanese people have had net outbound movement or emigration for like 2 decades now, ever since the 2006 war, obviously. So that the idea behind all this has nothing to do with bottle rockets from Hezbollah. Is probably about trying to keep the malaise in place and to keep trying to via via lowering still further birth rate and continued encouragement of outbound emigration, continue depopulating Lebanon down to a drunken, lessened threat level, both in regards of its own military and of potential Hezbollah stuff. And probably Israel's probably going to eventually announce a permanent, totally not annexation, just safety precautionary occupation of like southern Lebanon or something. But That's probably the strategic aim is continuing to encourage the depopulation of Lebanon, as Lebanon peaked at like 8 or 9 million back in the 90s or around the turn of the millennium, and has since declined now to 5.7. Most of that has been from people leaving Lebanon. And so the IDF, from a strategic angle, probably wants to keep that up, make sure that trend continues, push them down below, further below that, below 5 million, down to 4 million even. Who knows? And let's see, some other stuff here. We There was a proposed project a while ago for a pipeline from Iraqi oil fields through Jordan down to the port of Aqaba. And that was initially turned down because it was just so easy to keep doing the regular stuff this way. However, now that all this is happening, and the US administration and the Israeli administration have said publicly over the last few days that they might be about to stop, and their direct statement was that they might stop for now and come back and, I'll just put quotation marks, revisit Iran next year. So even if this does all stop and traffic resumes as normal, that, kind of puts it out there that this would all play out again next year. So Iraq and Jordan over the past week just decided to say screw it and just signed the papers and have started paying out the contract money and are just going to start building this pipeline. Since this could easily happen again and again, and there's constantly too many disagreements with Turkey for reliable flows out of the northern pipeline, as Turkey has issues both with Iraq and Kurdistan, and both of them also have issues with Turkey because of the water stuff and the Euphrates. And it's not just about the disagreements over taxation percentages on the amount of oil flowing. That pipeline could carry way more than just a few 100,000 barrels per day, but the number of times everyone keeps backpedaling on that, it's kind of considered dead. So Iraq is going to instead go with a much more reliable, much less antagonistic neighbor, that being Jordan. The arguably the safest place out of the and most stable and least oppressive, actually, out of the array of Arabian Peninsula / Mesopotamian region countries. So that is going to be built now, and they're kind of hinting they're going to abandon the Turkey pipeline at this point. And this one will be 2.25 million barrels per day. We'll be able to go this way out through Jordan down to Aqaba. Although that will take a couple years. In the speed run version, if all goes well in a speed run version, it could get built in 3. But if problems arise, which there usually will be, it's going to be more like 4 or 5, maybe 6. We'll see. But it is inked out officially now. Like the stamp's been stamped. That's going to get built. They kind of aren't being left that much other choice. Was there anything else in this regard? No, it doesn't look like it. Let me check chat. There is nothing from chat. Chat is dead. There are 24 people. That is higher than we've usually been. If you got here late and you missed stuff, just scroll back, blah, 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 down the timeline. Let's see. The embassy stuff, Cuba stuff, we'll get to that in a second. The pipeline, Tehran strikes, the FBI, that was the report on the bombings, or the attempted bombing at the Florida base. Large oil storage depot in Krasnodar, Russia, got lit up overnight. Oh, yeah. And that's where we were going to go next. Pakistan, Afghanistan. So they've been at war for about a month now, as the Taliban just cannot handle life outside of eternal jihad. So they figured the best one to pick a fight with was Pakistan, apparently. And so now they've been fighting all across the border, along with Pakistan constantly bombing a number of locations across Afghanistan. And although each of them ridiculously claims absurd numbers, like only five, we've only lost five dudes, uh, despite videos coming out showing like at least several dozen dudes, sometimes like around a few trucks launching rockets like up in the hills, and then an airstrike hits them, and quite clearly those several dozen dudes were vaporized. They The actual numbers are vaguely somewhere around a bit under 700. Oops, sorry, go back on that. Somewhere a bit above 700 Taliban have been killed, and somewhere between 300 and 350 Pakistani military killed. The lopsidedness there, again, like in many other cases where there's extreme lopsidedness, coming from the fact that one of these two has an air force and the other doesn't. So a lot of the deaths on the Taliban side are from airstrikes, and Pakistan just carried out additional airstrikes on different Taliban administrative buildings in Kabul again. So unknown how many and which who specifically, but a number of Taliban like higher officials. Again, don't know what level, don't know who specifically, but were likely killed in this last night. I won't get to find out any specific details for quite a while, especially in Afghanistan's case, because they're deliberately uh, dead internet, obviously, because the internet is from Muslim Satan or whatever. Uh, well, that's right. Yeah, over here. So, you guys remember Cuba is the one other thing on the list of things that the Pentagon wanted to do before Taiwan starts. First was Venezuela, then Iran, and also Cuba. Technically, they probably do want Kimmy gone over there in North Korea, but he has nukes and he's a psychopath. And also, he kind of just sits there getting fatter and occasionally launching sewage and manure balloons over the border. So, for the most part, kind of the consensus is to kind of just go ahead and just let him sit there. Uh, we'll have to deal with the internal fracturing eventually when the whole split comes, when he inevitably dies from congestive heart failure or clogged arteries, because the there's gonna likely be a split in the military ranks of who wants to be loyal to his sister and who wants to obey the supreme leader's dying will and be loyal to his teenage daughter. So, but anyways, Cuba started 2 months ago blockading all oil from Cuba, all refined fuel. So, uh, using vehicles in Cuba became impossible after not too long, except for a few allowances, mostly for the government, and generating power, since a lot of the island's power comes from oil fired or diesel generators, started failing. You started seeing the island lose power across different portions and cities, and the only part left with uh, power was Havana, and even the outskirts of Havana started having issues. Well, now, as of yesterday, it finally broke. That's they reached the end of the supply. The entire island is in complete, actual, full grid collapse. There is no electricity anywhere except for a few government buildings in Havana that have their own extra secret stash of backup fuel supply for like really small, 10, 20 kilowatt generators. So everything is broken. The refrigeration and food preservation is broken. The hospitals are broken because they've run out of their backup fuel too. And they are on the precipice of uh, potential collapse and mass death, which was kind of the point. That was the Pentagon strategy: is get them to an actual breaking point to where they would enter full societal collapse, which would then be able to use for justified intervention, and or the Cuban government might actually open itself, which appears to uh, maybe be what's happening, as they made contact today with the current U.S. administration and started asking for terms for what was actually wanted. They started asking the administration for what's the actual tangible threat? Like, what do you want? Do you want us to resign and go live in exile in the Bahamas or something? Do you, do you want us to live in exile on Staten Island in New York with Maduro in the totally real prison that he's totally in, and not a safe house that he's allowed to live in under FBI supervision? Do you just want us to acquiesce to like economic demands? So that talking just started today. After yesterday, the grid fully and totally collapsed. What else do we have here? We got that. We got the Iran war stuff. We got Lebanon, Jordan pipeline, the India tankers, the Krasnodar refinery, Cuba. Oh, yeah, Polymarket. So, for anyone who's unfamiliar with Polymarket, Polymarket is an online gambling site that is illegal, technically, but no one does anything about it, where people can go and gamble over whether certain things are going to happen, certain political or military actions, what the death toll is going to be for something. Like seriously, there have been $1 million bets over like what's the civilian death toll in Lebanon going to be after 1 month of carpet bombing from the IDF. So the so some of the people who compile all the videos of like missiles coming in to say heading towards Saudi Arabia or towards Israel, and like showing how many get intercepted versus how many impact. Some of the people who like document that stuff have been getting like have been getting actual like doxed and threats on their lives and their families' lives from some of the people on the losing sides of some of the bets, telling them that they better alter the numbers in their favor so that they can win the money, or else they're gonna like kill their children and make them watch. So this is another one of Max Ogier's many. This is the degenerative point that human civilization is coming to. You know, uh, I I bet $150,000 that over 1,000 Lebanese children would be dead by now, and you say it's only 850. You better change it. Here's a picture I took on my phone through an improvised like ACOG rifle scope, looking at your daughter as she walks out of elementary school to get on the bus. I want my money. Let's see, blah blah blah. Uh, no, I don't really know if I'd buy the he got out to Russia after the airstrike stuff because unless he was like driven out and then put on a boat or something, because there his like evac plane, especially post airstrike, uh, especially post like sky closed, kind of would have been visible. Oh yeah, the one other thing, in some recent medical findings after doing 3 decades of research, once we started getting concerned about the CO2 levels, you see, and here comes some of the clashes and the contradictions, because people see me talking against solar specifically, and like start labeling me as like an oil baron or whatever, and assuming that I don't believe in climate change or whatever, and that's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. I just said that solar is horrifically like the worst choice out of the renewable choices, but it's the one we've suicide pacted ourselves into. Uh, the CO2 issue is very real. The I'm just concerned about other aspects of it at the moment specifically, because the warming part will result in thermohaline circulation disruption, which would cause snap cooling and would kill billions, and thus would everything would kind of reset itself, both temperature wise and through our mass death, both working together. This the more actual like super threat is not from the warming portion. It's from to humans specifically because we are weak and not as nearly adaptable uh, as other animals are. Us and guinea pigs, I think, are like the worst ones in terms of like survivability of stuff. Like us and them are the only animals like so pathetic that only 100 rads of radiation exposure is fatal, whereas other animals, like say like wolves and bears, for example, they're roaming around like close to that reactor in Chernobyl and everything before it had the giant dome and stuff put on it. Like even other mammals, I'm not talking about the special anti-radiation beetles, even other mammals can survive like multiple hundreds more, some of them even thousand, like 1,000 or 2 rads. Whereas we humans and guinea pigs are the ones that are so pathetic we'll die to like 50 or 100. This is true in many other aspects of our physiology. We gave up so much in exchange for our brain power. Not that we're using it, but we gave up so much in exchange for our brain power. So, as the CO2 levels continue increasing in the ambient atmosphere, we started noticing since the study began in 1992 over the long term that human blood levels of various things began starting to alter because their concentration is kind of based on how much CO2 is coming and going in the lungs. So the level of bicarbonates, I'm just going to put BIC, the level of bicarbonate in our blood usually for a healthy range would be anywhere from 22 to 30. And the 30 is like the maximum threshold, 22 is the lower threshold, where in either direction it would start having negative effects, like noticeable negative effects. And across a wide array of different people from various countries, we noticed that over 1992 up to 2020, the average bicarbonate level in blood measured over time climbed up from 23 to about 25, still within the regular, like acceptable range, but the generic human average of where it usually falls within that range is creeping upwards. So this is not good. If you get to 30 or above, or conversely, if you got down to 22 or below, and the worse the effect, the farther below 22 or higher above 30 you go, you start having issues with the degree to which things that need to dissolve in your blood are able to, or the degree to which your blood vessel integrity can be maintained, the degree to which your cells can effectively offload cellular waste, et cetera, et cetera. And similarly, this having to do with this also, two particular nutrient transports, the level of mineral nutrient transports we've seen in the blood have also been going down over time. I forgot. One of them was phosphorus. I forgot what the other one was, but elemental, like micronutrients, concentration in the blood have been decreasing over that same time period as the CO2 rises, most likely being the contributor to blood concentration of bicarbonate rising. That is beginning to show decreases in the average human concentration. Other factors accounted for, as in these were people who have like access to food and actually get to eat stuff. They weren't like starving people in South Sudan who are going to be nutrient low because they barely get to eat anything. They were people who actually get to eat stuff and who do eat fruits and vegetables like you should be doing, dear viewer. They started seeing over those 3 decades up until the study ended in 2020 that the blood concentrations of various micronutrients started going down a bit because it's getting affected by the rise in bicarbonate levels, which is affected or correlatively being driven by the rise in CO2 levels. So, yes, we do absolutely need to stop the CO2 rise. That is a thing. I'm just saying also the whole solar thing, solar panel and grid batteries thing isn't going to work. All right. Let's see. That's about it for this one. I had a bonus thing I was going to throw on. Oh, yeah, but one of the, and I know I've harped on this point before, but I'm going to harp on it again. One of the easiest things we can do to stall out the CO2 level rise for a time or drastically slow it is, something we seem to keep ignoring, which is to replant the trees. So we have cut down an estimated 3 trillion trees since we started mass deforesting in the 1500s and 1600s. And we have, based on looking across land, what's used for what could grow where, roughly 1 trillion of those trees could be replanted and reinstated without like sacrificing farmland or like forcibly shrinking cities or anything. That there is actually that much just empty land that was once forest that is not having anything done with it. So we could, again, this is without having to forcibly move stuff around or shrink farmland or anything. We could just straight up replant 1 trillion trees worth of forest cover, but that's only happening in a few places around the world. One of the few props I will give Ethiopia for actually is they are actually trying to undo a fair bit of what was done there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the one other thing I was going to give you guys a bonus since I was going to make it a case of every time there's some type of super chat, regardless of the amount, I'll reveal another country on the list of the aforementioned. You may remember from a few streams ago, uh, fewer than 12 out of almost 200 countries, fewer than 12 countries who, as a country, as a political entity, their government, have an IQ that is actually above zero. Because almost every country's IQs, their government's IQs are well below zero. Sorry, all the big major ones. US below zero, Canada, you're about zero, Russia below zero, uh, Belarus below zero, Ukraine at zero, China gets a two. I'll give you a two. Uh, Not enough to like fully jump on the list, but you're starting to just veer off into too much stuff where you shouldn't be going. And also the whole citizen resentment against you with the mass surveillance stuff. Uh, India, you guys don't make it. None of the Gulf countries get to make it on the list. Uh, let's see. A huge chunk of Europe. Uh, Sorry, you guys aren't on it either. The only one I revealed that is a country that, as an entity or its governments, in terms of its country level decisions, has an IQ level above zero. The one I revealed previously was Norway. I will now reveal, to make up for the fact that I had to cut stream short on Friday, I'll reveal another one. And since I zoomed in on it, you can probably already tell one of the only other ones is Japan. And is also one of the only places on Earth where net reforestation is actually taking place. Now, let me drink some water. And to be clear, uh, for a country to get on the above zero IQ list, it has to actually have been cohesive and been making good decisions, uh, or majority good decisions for a while. So, for example, although Somalia has, abruptly stabilized after the anti-Shabaab al-Shabaab operation back in 2022 and 2023, and has actually been uh, doing well and smart for the last few years, that's not long enough to count just yet. If it holds together and keeps going in a positive trend, might eventually qualify, maybe, but we'll have to see. But the two on said list that have been revealed so far are Norway and Japan. Okay. Uh, I mean, banning it would be the correct, morally proper thing to do, but uh, I hope you realize a lot of politicians around the world are kind of using it to make money because they know when stuff's about to happen because they're the ones doing it. So they go and place bets. And some of them have been caught recently and they didn't even use like really good, like cover names. Some of them just straight up actually like put their name, not like their full name, but they would just put like their first name or their last name and then some numbers after it. And people were able to kind of guess the obvious. But, anyways, that's probably going to be it unless anything comes up from anyone. So I'll give you uh, 20 seconds or so for the stream delay. Otherwise, I'm going to go do laundry and then get back to writing. See if I can finish writing the few missing segments of what would be episode one or the pilot episode of Dream War. And then, if I finish those, get back to writing the general rough draft content of episode five. It looks like we're not gonna get any else. Give it, yeah, 10 seconds or so. And yep, that's it.